Welcome to the Proposal Podcast. I'm your host, Ash Fox. This episode is called How to Get Out of the Friend Zone and Find Your Dream Partner. My episodes are mostly geared towards those of you who are planning to get engaged, but from time to time, I get questions in the DMs with people with requests like this, where they really do want to get engaged, but they don't even have someone to get engaged to because they don't have a partner. And I've heard this question come up a lot about the friend zone, the infamous friend zone. No one seems to like the friend zone. And I wanted to talk a little bit today about the friend zone, what it is, what it means, and how to get out of it, and how to get going on finding that person who could potentially be the real person for you, the right person for you. So, you probably have read or know the story of The Great Gatsby. Classic literature tells the same story over and over again. It's a very common trope in literature about the story of someone who builds up a whole life in order to get themselves to a level where they think they can attract the kind of person they want. And in these books, it's usually focused on one person. So for example, The Great Gatsby, it's all about how Gatsby became Gatsby by building his whole life around switching classes in order to be the man who this woman Daisy might desire. But in the end, he's left feeling lonely and miserable, and he has his riches, but he still doesn't have Daisy in the end. There's another story you might have read, Great Expectations, and that's about a guy from a lower class who falls in love with this beautiful woman, Estella, and he is so inspired from her to become an upperclassman in the hopes that will win her over and he'll get to be with her. In all these stories, the main character, or the person, Great Gatsby, his goal was to become something else, what he perceived she would want him to be, in order so that he could be the partner that she would want. Mostly around something superficial. In this case, changing classes, becoming rich and wildly successful in both cases, to finally get this woman to love them. It's absolutely okay for people to inspire us. And often our partners do inspire us. And often in our journeys of discovering who we are, we need inspiration. And we get inspiration from so many different sources. We get inspiration from our own families, if we're lucky and fortunate to have families who inspire us. We get inspiration from our friends, if we're lucky to have inspiring friends. We get inspiration from the people we don't want to be like if there's a family member you don't like, or a friend who irks you. You might think, I don't want to be like them. I'm inspired to be different than them. So we're picking up inspiration, nuggets of inspiration all along the way. It's very normal and natural to pick up inspiration along the way from the people around us. Sometimes there's even a classmate and they might be super confident or funny or class clown, and we're like, ooh, I really wish I could be like them one day. I wish I had the confidence that they have to not give a crap, to make a fool of themselves or be funny or silly and not be scared. So it's great to have that, and often that is how we become who we are, picking nuggets of inspiration in our travels in life. A lot of times we find that in the dating process. And years back, I discovered that I was always desiring these adventurous men who were able to live in multiple places, who rode motorcycles, who were unafraid to climb tall mountains, who lived in dreamy apartments of their own design, who had amazing art, who collected art, who just were living these fabulous lives. I was so attracted to these men because I felt like, wow, they've figured everything out. They're really unafraid. They're daredevils. They're taking risks in life. They're starting businesses. They're interesting. They're well-read. They have invested in themselves. They have coaches. They have therapists. They have physical therapists. They have trainers. They have a masseuse. They have all these things. I was very attracted to them because I saw in them the way that they prioritized themselves, the way that they went after their dreams, the way They had no fear. They were just fearless to be themselves. And I realized that I thought I was attracted, but I was actually very inspired. In a lot of ways, I was most likely desiring to be with them, hoping that they would rub off on me and that I would end up being this person who is adventurous, unafraid to take risks in life, unafraid to flip the script of life, willing to go after different exciting dreams or desires, or take courses or do all the things that I wanted to do, buy the things I wanted to buy, all of that. Funny enough, in nearly all of these cases, most of these men turned out to be completely incompatible partnerships. Most of them turned out to be people who weren't really interested in the kind of relationship that would have been a good fit for me. But what I got was a lot of inspiration to go take action in my life, to flip the script in certain ways, to go after dreams, to discover myself, to be entrepreneurial, to make, purchase, get the things that are going to help me grow into the person I am today. Okay, so what I want to tell you is, let the person you desire to be the inspiration for becoming more of the person you desire to be. It's not about getting them. It's not about winning them over. It's not about having them necessarily be your partner. But often what we see in them is who we want to be. Take the inspiration, but forget about the person. Move on and become you. And the more you are, the more you're going to align with the person who actually is compatible and right for you to be in a relationship. So I want to start off with that because that's really the message of this episode. But now I really want to get into the friend zone situation. So I want you to say to yourself, why am I always in the friend zone? And the friend zone, I guess we could define it. Let's give it a quick definition. I probably don't need to define it if you're listening to this. But the friend zone, we can characterize it by you're always the friend, and you might have, or depending on who you're interested in, the person might always just see you in this platonic way. They don't really have romantic feelings for you. They might hang out with you. They might give you attention. They might spend time with you. And they might even give you romantic attention. But let's say the friend zone could equate with, how come they don't want to be in a relationship with me? So it could be that they're treating you like you're in the friend zone and you're this platonic person. But it could also be that they're hooking up with you, but they just don't really ever intend to be with you or want to be with you. That could be that too. So it could be either way. And a lot of times when we're in this space where we feel like we're not the one that's desired, that we're not the one that's chosen, why don't they want me? A lot of negative thoughts come up. I'm not attractive. I'm not cool enough. I'm not necessarily wealthy enough, like The Great Gatsby or Great Expectations. I'm not interesting enough. That was something that I used to have too. I was like, oh, I need to read more. I need to know more about this or that because I need to be more interesting. I had that thought years ago. And it might be just you're always trying to think of ways, how can you be more desirable to attain the favor of the people that you have perceived that you want to be with, this person, this object of desire, like a Stella or Daisy from those books, those classic novels. The thoughts that you are having, a lot of times, I'm not attractive, cool, wealthy enough to be desirable as more than a friend. If these are the thoughts you're having, there is a huge clue to why you're stuck in this friend zone, to why you're stuck in this unchosen space. The word that comes up that sums it up is enough. Enough, enough, enough. And I think it was funny. I think there was a joke in the Barbie movie about Ken not feeling enough. We all have been there. And the thing about when we don't feel enough, whatever it is, attractive enough, wealthy enough, smart enough, kind enough, friendly enough, outgoing enough, whatever it is, if you believe you're not enough, you will always desire something outside of yourself and believe that you can't have what you want in life because you're just not there. You're not enough. You're not good enough. You're not ready. You've got to work on yourself. You're not, all these things. And the thing is that there's a difference between when you have goals, you have things you're striving for, but you're good with you. You're content with where you're at. You're like, I like me. I like where I'm at. I'm enough for me. I'm enough for the world. But there's ways that I can improve. There's ways that I can develop. There's ways that I can evolve. And then there's a difference when you're like, if only I lost those 20 pounds, or if only I knew more about politics and could get into those debates, if only I had more money, if only I had better clothes, if only I had a better sense of humor, if only I knew how to be cool. Whatever it is, when you're in that headspace, it's a lack mindset. You're thinking, there's something missing in me. So what happens when you're stuck in not enough-ness is you only really want things that are outside of yourself because you think there's always something else to attain. It's in the movie The Wizard of Oz, Dorothy keeps on getting more requests from the Wizard of Oz. He'll be like, get me the witch's broom. And then when she has the witch's broom, well, now you got to go get this. Now you got to go do that. And it's never enough. And what she realizes, if you've ever seen The Wizard of Oz, the moral of the story, there's no place like home. And what the whole point of the story is, what she realizes is all she had to do was click her heels together, her ruby slippers together, and she could take herself home. She didn't have to get the witch's broom. She didn't have to get all the crap that the Wizard of Oz wanted her to get. He kept on giving her more obstacles in the way to get to what she actually wanted, but it was all already within her. And that's the same with this not enoughness. We all are going to have things that we want to improve on, but we are enough. And I know that's easier said than done. And if you are really not feeling enough right now, I feel you. I have been there. I was there for a very long time. The feeling can creep up. It is something that's very human. But I just want to tell you it's possible to get on the other side of this. And I want to warn you that that this not enoughness is actually something that's important to face. So instead of thinking, why am I never chosen? Why am I in the friend zone? I want you to ask yourself, why do I believe I'm not good enough? Because you are. This is what I want to recommend for you to do. And what I want to tell you, the big warning with this not enoughness, the not enoughness cycle, that's really what it is. It's this vicious cycle that because you're not enough, you're always chasing the next thing, just like Dorothy, the witch's broom. Now I gotta go get this. Now I gotta go that. It's the same thing. Oh, I'm not wealthy enough. Oh, I'm not hot enough. Oh, I'm not good enough. I'm not funny. All these things. You're always gonna find something else that you're not enough with. So you get stuck in this loop. And at the same time, what you end up doing is you put other people on a pedestal. So this person who you're saying is keeping you in the friend zone, this person who is like your version of Daisy or Estella from those classic books, you're making them better than you. So you're making them the source of, they have it all figured out, they're enough, but I'm not. And so the only way that I can get there is if I become something that isn't me. And I'm sure you've seen, there's been a lot of movies, there's a lot of books about this, but when we're actually living in it, it's kind of hard to see that. And hopefully I'm speaking to you in some way, and hopefully I'm getting through to you here, because this is something that is actually a problem. When we put people on a pedestal, again, we've put them outside themselves. So we've put them in a hierarchy that we think that they're actually a little bit better than us. And they're not. They're human just like us. That person that we put on the pedestal, they might not feel enough either. And they're human and they have their insecurities and they have their flaws. But a lot of times with this vicious cycle, what happens is, let's say you say to yourself, if only I get in really great shape. And I hate to use that example a lot, but that's sometimes something that people do. They're like, oh, I got to get in good shape in order to attract the people I want, which is partially could be somewhat true, that maybe you want to be the healthiest version of yourself, but it's different if you're like, oh, I got to look this way or be this way in order to get who I want. And then you get there, and then maybe you do attract the person you want, but then you think that you're going to feel like, okay, everything's all right in the world. Oh, hallelujah, life is perfect now. It isn't, because you're a human living in this 3D world, and life is not perfect. And the person that you thought was perfect, they're not perfect either. And the fact that they now chose you and want to be with you Sometimes what happens is because you've been in this vicious cycle for so long of never thinking you're enough, that when you finally get them and you see they're human, there is a danger of suddenly now you're like, ooh, maybe they're not as good as I thought they were. And now you want someone else who you've put on a pedestal, and it keeps going. That's why in this case, with this, why am I in the friend zone? It's a lot deeper of a question than you might have thought. Oh, because you might have just been thinking, oh, Ash is just going to tell me how to get that person, get out of the friend zone and snag that person. But I'm actually here to tell you that you need to consider how you're feeling about yourself, because getting that person, most likely it's not going to be what you think. And most likely, even if you get that person and you win them over, they very likely are not going to be the right person for you, because you thought that you had to change yourself in order to win them over. And I remember myself too. Remember I told you about all those adventurous men? I was thinking to myself, oh, I've got to become more adventurous. I've got to do all these things to be like them. A lot of times opposites attract, and that's actually not why a person's going to like you, because you're just like them. Maybe yes, maybe no. But what we want to do is, like I said, you can get inspired, and that's fine. If inspiration is the piece here, that's great. But if winning someone over, changing yourself to become something you're not is the goal, because you feel a deep-rooted sense that you're not worthy until you change, or that you feel you're just so undeserving and not enough in life, you're never going to be happy even if you attain the goal of getting this person. So I want to tell you a couple of things dealing with this not enoughness. This is like, that could be a whole episode in and of itself, and I've already spent a lot of time with it. But one piece of this is something I call fix it and move on. That's one solution. And that's superficial, but that's something where, like, let's say there's something that is really bothering you. Let's say you're saying, hey, I'm feeling really ignorant and embarrassed about my ignorance about current affairs. And when I go to a party and everyone's talking about politics or what's going on, I feel really ignorant and embarrassed. Okay, so one thing you can do here, which is not about, it's not that you're not enough, that you don't know. It's okay that you don't know, but you can fix it and move on very easily. And you can fix it and move on by getting a newspaper every day, or going online and subscribing to a newspaper and just reading the headlines, reading some articles, and being moderately informed, and you can feel better. So that's an example of fix it and move on. Or let's say there's something that's really bothering you about your appearance, like maybe you have, I don't know, big, fluffy, crazy hair like me, and you're like, you want silky, smooth, straight hair. You can go buy a hair straightener, you can straighten it. You know, there's things you can do to fix it and move on. Or let's say, oh, your hair's going gray, something. You can fix it and move on very easily. There's things like that. But then, again, these things are almost like, they are easy fixes. They are quick fixes sometimes. And again, they're not going to necessarily make you feel great, but they're like a little boost. They're a little jolt. They'll give you a little pep in your step when you build on these things. Sometimes it does increase your confidence, but it's not always the full thing, because really what you need to do is the second thing: accept yourself as is. I know it's really hard. It's one of the hardest things there is, especially if you're someone who is a high achiever, which I have been in my life. It's very hard if you're a very goal-oriented person. You don't want to be complacent, right? And I don't want to be complacent, but you still have to find a really beautiful balance of fixing the things that bother you in ways that feel authentic to you. If you really are not interested in politics, like I said, you don't have to like, I don't know, become a political scholar, right? You don't have to go get a degree in it, but you can go read a newspaper once in a while, or you can read a headline, or you can listen to a news podcast, right? Just so that you don't have to carry shame about feeling ignorant. But then there's an acceptance. It's, hey, you can also laugh it off a little bit and be like, yeah, I am a little bit uninformed, and I wish I was more informed, but there's other things in my life I prioritize more. Right? So there's that beautiful acceptance that you have to strike that balance between. Another thing I want to talk to you about is getting to a place, which is, again, easier said than done for a lot of people who are high achievers, it's a hard thing for people who are used to putting other people on a pedestal in life, is mutual desire, enjoying mutual desire versus striving to win people over, because that is not actually how you find the love you desire. It's not from striving to win people over. Of course, in dating and courting, there's a certain amount of effort. You right now in that friend zone might be feeling like, hey, I've made some moves. I've tried to show interest. They're rejecting me. Or you might feel like, hey, they're just kind of using me in a way. I feel kind of used. I feel like they don't really like me, but they're spending time with me. I'm confused. Just that feeling of not being chosen. And you're striving and wondering and thinking about this person and thinking about how great they are and why don't they like me and I'm not good enough and I wish I was better. Okay, throw this whole thing out in the trash because this is just causing you so much distress. You need to learn how to enjoy the desire of wanting who wants you. So you need to find mutual desire, not one-sided desire. And I know it's easier said than done because what you're wanting me to say right now is, Ash, how can I just make this person who I desire me back? It doesn't work that way. It really, in life, it's almost like this magnet sensation that happens when two people are actually a good match for each other. They just come together. It's like a magnet. It snaps together and it works. But when there's this awkwardness where it's not snapping together, they're not really a match, there isn't mutual desire, it's clunky, it's confusing, it causes anguish, it makes us question ourselves, it makes us feel not good enough. I don't want that for you. We all deserve, I've heard this line before, and I don't know, a love that chooses us back. I don't know who was the first person to say that line, but I like that line. We do deserve a love that chooses us back. So I want to address the people who are really in that friend zone space, the space where they are just seen as this platonic friend. I'm not talking about those of you who are hooking up with a person romantically or going on dates with a person who isn't really fully committing to you. I'm not talking to you. I'm talking to my friend zone people. If you really are in this friend zone, this platonic space where they just see you as that good old friend, but they don't see you as sexy as you might think they are sexy. The bottom line is, if you secretly just carry on, like loving them from afar, pining over them from afar, and you're not speaking up, what you are doing is one, you're not even giving them a chance to see if there's a mutual desire, and you are not allowing yourself to move on, and you're missing out on the chance of meeting someone who might, again, mutually desire you. And that person might be right under your nose and they might love you in the way that you are desiring, loving, lusting after this other person. So it's good to get clarity. And I know that this is really scary and upsetting. And you might be like, oh no, I might be sabotaging the friendship. But you need to get clarity around, is this person just someone who is inspiring me to be a new version of myself? Like I told you, is it inspiring me to be more adventurous? I like that quality about them. Or is this something where I really do think and I really do feel attracted, I'm in love, and I think that there's a chance to tell this person and there's a chance that they might reciprocate, there's a chance that they don't know. Well then, yeah, you might have to make a move on them. And this move, you very likely, the chances are you will get rejected. And I know that's a really hard truth to hear, but like I said before, when two people are magnetized to each other, when two people are like both mutually desiring each other, it's more so an easy fit. Where if it's something where you're hanging out all the time and you're in this friend zone and you don't even get a little side eye, there's no flirtation, there's nothing there, there might be a reason for that. So now's the time to flirt a little bit, put the feelers out there. And if you're feeling like you're not getting anything back, like if you say a little flirty comment and the person isn't saying anything back, then you might want to just protect yourself and, again, move on and focus on people who are interested in you. Or if you feel like there is something there, and again, it takes a little bit of courage here. It takes a little bit of courage, takes a little bit of risk. You're putting your heart on the line. You might have to just say something and be just like, listen, I'm feeling something more than a friendship here. And just see how they react. And they might be like, I feel it too. And that would be the best case scenario for you. And I'd be very happy for you that you're suddenly out of the friend zone, and that would be amazing. But if you don't get something back like that, if they seem ambivalent, if they seem uncomfortable, if they seem like they're really just not into it, then you need to accept that. And you need to move on, and you have to take them down off the pedestal you put them on and realize they're human. And you got to start going after what you actually want. So I want to also talk about how the friend zone thing and the going after the person that's not into you thing, pedestalizing people who are not into us, you might be fantasizing a bit too much about what's outside yourself and what's unattainable. I have been there. I'm going to tell you what. There was a time in my life, going back to the guys on motorcycles, there was a time in my life where I was like, I just want to date a rock star. I want someone, I want to go out with a famous rock star. That was my goal. And I liked it because it just seemed so unattainable. It was like this fantasy that I had. This was when I was in my college years, and it was just a time in my life where that's all I would do. I would fantasize about what was outside of my reality. And what I want to ask you is, can you get comfortable with loving your actual reality, your actual day-to-day, and get more grounded in the present? It's okay to have dreams. There's people who are like, I want to be with a supermodel. I want to be with an astronaut. It's okay to have that dream, but you got to examine why, like we talked about earlier. Is it because you don't feel good enough? Is it because you think you need to change? Is it because you think they're better than you? But I think the best thing we really can do is when we fall in love, and like you probably heard, there's always those trends about romanticizing your own life and our actual reality. I love that. It sounds trite, but we need to seek what's actually available to us in reality. We need to seek out what wants us back. We need to have mutual desire. It can't be one-sided. And when you focus and shift, instead of focusing on, what don't I have? What do I have to change? I'm not enough. I got to be better. I got to strive. I got to do this. I got to change. They're only going to like me. They're on a pedestal. I got to be on the pedestal too. What do I do? If you're in that space, I know this sounds ridiculous, but it's not ridiculous. But if you're in that space, you really have to come back to earth, get grounded. What is already in your life that you love other than this person you pedestalize? Do you love your home? Do you love, I don't know, the coffee that you have every day in the morning? Do you love your doggy? Do you love your family? Do you love your job? And you might not. And if you don't, that's another sign that there might be actual real things in your reality that you want to shift. And that's a good thing. And again, that goes back to inspiration. The more we can feel good, tuning into the things that we love, tuning into the things we're grateful for, the more joy we have and the more attractive we actually become, no matter what we look like, because beauty really comes from that joy and that ease inside ourselves. And again, a lot of times when we don't feel enough, no matter how beautiful we are, no matter how talented we are, no matter how smart we are, no matter how blessed we are, no matter how rich we are, no matter how famous we are, we won't feel good enough because we don't feel enough. There's like a gaping hole inside. The more we feel grateful, the more we feel in love with life, the more we feel joyful with our life as it is, the more we exude a magnetism, an attractiveness, a sexiness, and we start attracting people into our life who appreciate, who can really see us. And it's not because you're putting on an act. I'm not talking about putting on an act at all. I'm talking about actually falling in love with what's already there, falling in love with what's already in your life, falling in love with the things that you love, your interests, the things that make you happy, outside of thinking that there's only something outside of yourself to make you happy. What's already here that I'm really, maybe it's like, I'm really happy that I'm just got a nose that works, that I can breathe. Listen, I sniffle a lot, but I got a nose that can breathe in air and take in oxygen. I don't know, something so simple, because truly we are so blessed. We have so many things that we can be grateful for. And I know this isn't why you came to the show right at this moment. You were like, how do I get out of the friend zone? But again, this is how you get out of the friend zone, because the more you feel good, the more you're not seen as just this platonic person. You're seen as someone who people want to get close to, someone people want to have in their lives, someone people want to talk to. And you start drawing in all these people that appreciate you. And because they see that you are exuding an inner peace and confidence in who you are. And when that comes out into the world, so many people are chronically unhappy. So many people are insecure. So many people are constantly criticizing themselves. And the fact that you're able to appreciate the simplicity of everything around you in that moment is so attractive. You stand out from the crowd, and you're going to be amazed what's going to happen to you, because suddenly you're going to be attracting people who really want you, who really see you for who you are, because you are not just the person who's striving. You're not just the person who thinks that they need to attain something in order to be enough. You are so much more than that. You have so many things that you're actually ignoring that are amazing about you because you're always so focused on striving. So the more we focus on what we have versus what we don't have, we then attract even more. We even get even more. We start calling in those dream partners who are actually going to have the mutual desire and be the people that we snap right into like a magnet. And I want that for you. We all deserve that. One last note on the friend zone is that you need to consider the safety of, does it feel safer to long for a friend and shift the relationship, the tone of the relationship that we have built by bringing in this romantic element? Or is it a better idea to go into a context, a dating context where there's other single people who are looking for something romantic, and thrust yourself into that scenario and see who's there? That might mean like a dating app, or what is it called? A speed dating event or something like that, or some kind of singles mixer event, networking event or something, where there's people who are actually showing up there to find other people they're interested in versus just dating in your friend group. Now, the dating in the friend group is awesome, but again, like I said, sometimes in the friend group, if it's meant to be, it's just going to be, and it's going to be super easy and you're going to snap together. But if it's something where you're sensing a hesitation, or that the person doesn't really seem to want you because they're putting you in that friend zone, it's a zone for a reason, then it's probably better to stop wasting your time and go out into context where there's people who are really seeking out romantic partners, and just seeing where that leads, which might be a little bit more fruitful for you. To sum it up, get out of the friend zone, go see yourself, feel good in yourself, fix it and move on if you can, or accept yourself, find that sweet spot balance, get into mutual desire, find the people who want you back, get out of this vicious cycle of chasing whatever doesn't want you, or thinking you're not enough, thinking you have to change. Get inspired by the people you put on a pedestal. It's okay to take some qualities from them and let it inspire you to become a better version of yourself, but don't feel you have to change yourself to be with someone, because you are good enough as you are. And you can also, that doesn't mean you can't dream and be an even more incredible, evolved version of yourself. So good luck out there. And as always, if you have questions or there's topics that you would like me to cover on the Proposal Podcast, please feel free to DM me, reach out. I have a new tab on my website, foxproposals.com, where you can submit your questions. And thank you for being here with me. I hope this episode was helpful to you. The review is just so helpful to get this episode out into the world, to help more people, help them find it, because when there's not a lot of reviews, it's just hard for the algorithm to find the show. So thank you so much for that in advance. And if you do, DM me and let me know, because I want to thank you personally. And if you are someone who just listened to this for fun or sent it to a friend, but you happen to be proposing soon, you actually have a partner who you're planning to get engaged to, I would be honored to help you. And if you are somewhere in the world, anywhere in the world, I have the Proposal Blueprint, where we do a one-on-one session together. We go over your ideas, we go over any questions you have, and we get to brainstorm together. You get to pick my brain, and I'm happy to help you uncover all kinds of different things, possibilities for what you might want to do for your partner. And it's a lot of fun. It's going to be very productive. So if you want to do that, check it out, Proposal Blueprint. It's on my website, foxproposals.com, under packages. And if you are someone who is proposing in New York City, wants to get engaged in New York City, I have a full service proposal planning business in New York City, FOX Proposals AFP, and I have a whole team. We do everything from gorgeous photography, stunning videography, private, dreamy venues out of a movie. We also have public locations that are, I've got my secret spots that I give my clients that are just gorgeous. We have incredible decor. We can do custom decorations for you. We really do it all. We even have musicians. The possibilities are endless. If you are doing that, you want to get engaged in New York City, feel free to reach out. Would love to help you. I hope you're having a really good day, and thanks for being here with me.